Good morning. We're back with another Q&A. Anything that I say is not meant to diagnose or replace your medical care. Check with your doctor before implementing any of the suggestions that we're going to talk about today. All right, Steve, there's a lot of questions lined up. Let's just get to it.
Okay, let's see now. I've been caught flat-footed. Let's say hello from Germany as I bring up my list of questions. Forgive me, audience. That was awful.
Well, you
Okay.
just, as you're looking through the questions, Steve, I'm going to, I want to talk about a kind of a developing thing. Casey means, I don't know if people know who she is, but she wrote the book Good Energy. She was a Stanford trained doctor, then never completed her fellowship. At some point, she didn't complete it because she changed. She wanted to get out of medicine and do something else, more alternative. And so Trump just is nominating her for U.S. Surgeon General, and she's getting a lot of kickback from that, and people are objecting to it, even within the Maha group. So I want to give my 2 cents on that. You know, if you just take a look at the history of all of the U.S. Surgeon Generals in the past, every single one of them, including even the nurses that they had, were all conventional medicine, Western medicine, same old, same old. And we have a big problem, Steve. Like there's $4.7 trillion spent on healthcare, and the system itself needs to change. We can't keep doing the same old, same old. So one thing I do appreciate about Kaylee Means is that she's really, even in her book, you'll read, she talks about root causes. And I think we need to focus on that, especially insulin resistance. And then, of course, people will criticize her. Well, she owns a company that sells continuous glucose monitors. I'm like, okay, so what's the bad effect of that? People are checking their blood sugars, and then they can detect earlier, what they're eating, and they probably don't even suspect that what they're eating is spiking their blood sugars. So who cares? As long as it produces a good result. So anyway, some people were asking my viewpoint on it. I think we need a change. I mean, we need someone like her. I think it's going to be a good change. And right now, you go to the doctor with your symptom, you get diagnosed, and then you get a label, and then you take medication. There's no further investigation of root causes. And this is the hole in the bucket, is like, they're not, unfortunately, when you evaluate someone, you have to include the diet in that evaluation, or else you're going to miss the most important root cause. So anyway, don't get me started, Steve.
Well, there's no money in preventative medicine. That's obvious. And even those remedies that you just discussed, people are dying at a alarmingly higher rate in many, many instances. So, or living miserable lives with terrible chronic diseases for which, people get trillions of dollars for. So I think most of our audience, as you could see in most of the feedback, would answer a question that, okay, we can't say that, maybe she's going to, be the change agent forever, but status quo is killing us. So it's high time to explore a different avenue. So that's terrific. I'm very curious. And thank you for saving me from my duties. I am now ready. Urbana?
Just wanted to stall, give some extra time so you can get your
Thank
ducks in a
you.
row,
Just
Steve.
mad scramble of disorganization over here. Urbana Viscus from Rumble. What do you think about eating vegetables that contain toxic compounds? Some opinions say it's harmful for humans to eat them. I think so.
Okay, so there's certain viewpoints. Plants are out to kill us. They produce natural pesticides. If you just take a look at over time, we've evolved with plants, eating plants as well. So our detoxification systems, our body is well designed to deal with the toxins from plants. Now let's compare that to the toxins from our environment. We haven't evolved to detoxify these toxicities, pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, fungicides that are made petroleum-based, solvents, resins, plastics, forever chemicals. What about those? And you're talking about plant chemicals, really? Is that that important? Now, there are people that are sensitive to, certain plants because they already have gut inflammation, in which case you need to do carnivore. But I think there is argument against it's called a hermetic effect of these toxicities in plants that are developed as pesticides, which, by the way, some of these chemicals in plants also have a lot of health benefits, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and have many different effects for human disease. They're called secondary metabolites, but they're also they also have like lectins, and you have phytic acid, and you have other things that could irritate you, especially if you already have gut inflammation. So in that case, don't consume it. I know if I eat broccoli, my stomach is just like killing me, but I can do cabbage. So I don't think you're going to be poisoned if you have a salad a few times a week. And that's just my opinion. I don't know of anyone dying of eating a salad because they've been poisoned to death because of the plant chemicals. Now, I will say, it's probably, we also need, we need meat, we need animal meat, we need grass-fed meat to also survive that, because you're not going to survive on plants because there's not enough protein. You're going to have to add a bunch of other vitamins and this and that. But I don't have the viewpoint that our main problem right now is the eating too many plants. I don't think that's the big problem on the planet right now. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but let's see what happens.
Well, as an example, you're still taking in oxygen, so clearly it's not a threat to you. Kelly from Facebook, what would you recommend for someone with autonomic diabetic neuropathy? Need your help, please.
The autonomic nervous system is composed of 2 or 3 sections. You have the flight or fight, which is sympathetic, and then you have parasympathetic. And you also have the enteric system, which is another system, which is all your digestion. So when you have damage from that, and that usually can happen when you're diabetic, then you start having dysfunction with the autonomic nervous system. That can affect the digestion. It can affect the valves. It can affect your blood pressure. It can affect you, sweating very quickly, and circulation, and all sorts of things. So I think the best way to support that would be obviously to get the root cause, the diet, squared away. But also B1 is one of my go-to nutrients to help fix an out of balance autonomic nervous system problem. But then you have to have higher amounts. Okay. Realize though, that might not work if you're also deficient in magnesium. So also take some of that as well.
All right, here's an interesting question. Their handle being, speak of the devil, against Big Pharma from Rumble. Should I be concerned that my bones crack without any residual pain? I crack my neck constantly with no pain. Could this have long-term results to my bone health?
I don't think so, because especially if you're not forcing it. If you're just moving and it cracks, that's fine. I think there is some indication that could be also a deficiency of B1. Also, when you in the neck and the spine, if there's certain areas that are overly restricted, then other areas above and below are moving too much. And so it might be helpful to go to a good chiro to see if that can help you. But I will say that one thing that, being a chiropractor, if I had to go back in time and redo things, I would have just tried to find out deeper root causes to why someone keeps needing the same treatment over and over and over and over and over, which I think that's, the spine shouldn't have to need to be adjusted 3 times a week for the rest of your life. I don't believe that. So I think a lot of, especially the right upper shoulder area, neck, is related to gallbladder and digestion. So it's all about, let's look at the whole body. Let's really not be so, focused in one area and thinking that you're going to, just use one tool to fix everything. So look at nutrition, diet, and chiropractic. But if you have to keep treating someone forever, it's like, doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that makes sense. Diana from Facebook, I'm estrogen dominant. Can I take a DIM supplement safely?
Yes. And I'm not going to say too much about that, because that relates to one of the questions that we're going to talk about. So we'll get to more of that topic. And it's so funny because every time I give these questions, it's almost like someone knows the questions and they're asking me questions that relate to the questions, and happens every single time. I don't know how they figured that out.
Well, I think I do. Our producer, Terry, is obviously getting loads of money for selling these prior to our answer. Terry, shame on you. Speak of the devil, here's our first quiz question of the day.
Out of all the health benefits of chocolate, what is the most researched health benefit?
All right, audience, I know you'll have an answer for that. Let's go to Moana from YouTube. I have allergies, a histamine intolerance, and an intolerance for fermented foods. What else can I do? I need your help, please.
I have to find out where I can post this for you because I'm probably not going to do a whole video on it. But maybe we can even use ChatGPT to figure this out. There is a microbe that's very easily destroyed by antibiotics. And also, if you were not breastfed, you probably don't have this microbe. And it's supposed to be in the gut. And it actually prevents you from getting allergies and high histamine levels. And so it really helps people not get allergies. So you can actually cultivate it and grow it in half and half to make this culture to help build up the microbiome to help reduce your allergies. So maybe you could find that microbe. I'm trying to remember the name of it, and I can't. So I'll have to post it somewhere and talk about it. So you have to find it. Maybe what I'll do is I'll even put it down here in the description later, because I was experimenting on it with some people, and I can't say I have 100 people that are seeing results, but I'm seeing some changes in some people. So that's one thing. The other thing you can do is get a freeze-dried colostrum, and then start taking that. That is great for the immune system, building up your immune system. So hopefully you won't have the allergies anymore.
Okay, well, here's a proactive person. Deborah from YouTube. What's the best nutrition for a diabetic after breaking a fast? She's fasting. That's great, I guess.
The best supplement or just food?
I think nutrition, she says, so I guess food.
So you just need to keep going low carb, high nutrient dense, low carb. If you're diabetic, that is going to help correct this diabetes, because you're literally you're just reversing this process. What is diabetes? It's high sugar. Well, why not just cut that out? Cut out the carbs, and guess what? Your body will start to adapt, and then there won't be a problem over time. So as far as nutrition goes, the most important nutrients for a diabetic would be, I would say, definitely vitamin D and magnesium and zinc as the trace mineral, just because they're involved in so many different biochemical reactions related to carbohydrates. And then also don't forget about B1.
All right, very good. Slimmer from YouTube, good for you. Are there any supplements out there that I can that can help with constant ringing in my ears?
Yes, vitamin D and magnesium, but you have to take a good amount of vitamin D to help mobilize. If you think about what vitamin D does, it helps you absorb calcium. With ringing in the ears, sometimes there's this extra calcium buildup in the hairs and the inside of the ear. And that happens with age. And it also happens if you're low in vitamin D3. And then also magnesium is an intracellular calcium regulator. So that can also help remove some of the calcium from certain places that it shouldn't be, like the inner ear. But that calcium is there to act like a little weight to normally help the balance of those hairs pick up sound waves and transmit them to sound. So the best two nutrients are high doses of vitamin D3 with magnesium.
Okay, very good. Let's see, Armand Daz from Rumble. What are your thoughts about eating raw, uncooked, organic red meat from my own farm? Wow.
I think it's awesome. Like rare meat. I think that's very healthy. I would do it. Personally, I kind of like mine a little bit cooked, but I do like it rare. I think that'll be very healthy, and I think there's a whole kind of movement raw food, but Try it out and see if it helps you.
That's neat. Your own farm. Good for you. Okay, quiz question number 1 has been answered by the audience, and it asked, of all the health benefits of chocolate, which is the most researched health benefit? And 70% of our respondents say it's antioxidants that are researched the most. 10% say it is L-reuteri. 10% say it is resveratrol. Did I say that right? Resveratrol. Resveratrol.
Well, I was looking for the health benefit, and yes, there are quite a few different nutrients, phytonutrients in chocolate. But as far as the research goes, it appears to be the best effect on blood pressure, because there's something in chocolate that increases nitric oxide. Interesting. So, nitric oxide is I did a whole video on that. You can watch that, but it can help with blood pressure. It's a vasodilator. It helps with a lot of things in the body. And so, but what I would recommend is I would not do a Hershey's chocolate bar. I would do something that maybe it's like an 80 to 85% cacao. So that way you're hardly getting any sugar at all. Because then you can get some ones that don't have sugar in them. But I like the almost bitter chocolate. So it's like very dark. I like it. And so there is some benefits to chocolate. And also the polyphenols in chocolate are picked up by your microbes. Your microbes actually eat them as well. So you're actually helping your microbes. And of course, I'm not recommending high sugar chocolate.
Nope. Okay, we've got a handsome gentleman coming all the way from Turkey with us today. His name is Hassan. And Hassan, you are on for your one question for Dr. Berg. Go ahead, please. Oops. Hassan, I think your audio's off, sir.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
You bet.
Yep.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for who give me this opportunity. And really, Mr. Berg, I'm a big fan of you. And so my question is, I'm applying keto diet for 1 year and with also intermittent fasting. So I feel so healthy, but I'm lost weight and this makes me more slim. How can I save my muscles or gain muscle back? Thank you.
Sure. That is the problem with going on low carb. That is the problem. You're going to get too thin. And for some people, it's not a problem. I think what I would do to increase more muscle is I would start taking that L-reuteri. Watch that video. You make your own probiotic. I really see a change I increased like 10 pounds of muscle mass on my body from using that yogurt. So, and the other cool thing about it is it'll add more calories and more fat to your diet. And that way, instead of burning your own fat, you'll burn the dietary fat. So that is the solution, is just to increase more, eat more fat, and then just sit around on the couch and don't do anything. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But I think more workouts, more exercise, more heavy weights with a little bit more protein and 2 meals a day, and just eat more calories. That's the way to counter the excess. I guess the just being too thin. But I also would mention that you could go down to 50 grams of carbs instead of like 0 grams of carbs. And see, some people need just a little bit of carb to maintain some of that weight too, because they're just too thin. But I also look at like, how's your energy level? How is your strength? Do you still have that?
And
If that's a problem, yeah.
And yeah, I feel some problem because I used to football refereeing, so I was running 30 kilometers per week, so I need carbs for long distance running. So sometimes I feel like low energy.
Okay.
But
So,
I want to change it.
yeah, I tell you, I think, yeah, that's honestly my viewpoint on, I would personally, but this is just my opinion, you should maybe get into more of a sprinting short distances with a lot of rest, high intense interval training, and then do what I'm doing right now is running up hills or flipping tires up hills. You're still getting the intensity of the workout, but not the long duration, which can increase cortisol and require you to it's just a little bit different workout. And if you ever look at a long distance runner versus a sprinter, sprinters have just more muscle. And I think you have to have quite a bit of recovery to do long distance running anyway, and I don't have that. So
Yeah,
there you go.
thank you, sir. I'm gonna applying for what you say.
Okay. Thank you.
Terrific call. Thanks for joining us, Hassan, and hope that works out well for you. Let's go back to social media. No, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and acknowledge all those people, including Hassan, around the world. So we'd like to say a good day to all our viewers joining us today from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Greece, Thailand, Romania, Cameroon, Grenada, South Korea, South Africa, the Philippines, Austria, Denmark, Trinidad and Tobago, Brunei, Macedonia, Barbados, Turkey, Poland, Austria, New Zealand, Panama, Japan, India, Ukraine, Iran, American Samoa, Peru, Kenya, Eritrea, Belgium, Germany, Vietnam, Guatemala, Scotland, Tanzania, France, Nepal, the Canary Islands, Chile, Virgin Islands, Bulgaria, Wales, Norway, Lebanon, and all across these United States of America. So again, we just think it's important to make sure that everyone is recognized in our worldwide quest for better health and a better life. So let's go to quiz question number 2 after that, and it is going to ask the following.
Why do nearly all environmental toxins, and including pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, heavy metals, plastics, solvents, detergents, mimic estrogen? I mean, there's a lot of hormones in the body. Why do most of them mimic estrogen? That's the question.
All right, very good. So let's see. Next, we will go to Norma from YouTube. Which foods are suitable for someone with type 2 diabetes and colitis? I'm confused about the advice I'm researching. Thank you. So, collagenous colitis. Did I say that right?
So
collagenous colitis. Thank you. Collagenous colitis.
If we have diabetes and we also have a digestive inflammatory condition, then for sure I would do carnivore because we want to go low carb. And how much lower carb can you do by doing carnivore? So, and then you're also eating meat, which has something called glutamate, high amounts of glutamate. Glutamate fixes the gut. So right there, you're going to eliminate a lot of things that are irritating your gut. So we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We bring down the carb and then we heal the gut. So I think that would be your best option.
Okay, very good. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do is go right back to the green room because we have a nice woman named Susan who's politely pulled over. I'm sorry, not that. Let me bring Susan up in her car, and we want to get to her before she's late for work or whatever. So go ahead, Susan, with your one question for Dr. Berg, please.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Thanks for taking my call. And I'm doing good on intermittent fasting and keto lifestyle, down 55 pounds since February. And I'm now wearing a continuous glucose monitor, like a freestyle. And I just wonder if there's more to it than just tracking your highs, when you're, eating something not correctly. I seem like is it best to be kind of in a straight line all the time between 50 and 70 when you're fasting? And I understand the spikes and all that come up, but I'm just trying to see if there's more to it. There's more to being able to analyze what I'm doing with a CGM.
That's a really great question. And I should probably even do a video on some extra benefits of using a continuous glucose monitor because, first of all, you can pick up stuff that you might not even think is raising your blood sugars. So, you keep it on there, you're like, wow, I had no idea I'm reacting to that. Because some people react to certain foods and other people don't. So you can kind of figure out what you can do and what you can get away with, what you can't. But that being said, you can also evaluate how your blood sugars really can spike from a workout. Yeah, from just like even overtraining. And then also when you're fasting, typically your blood sugars are coming down and then you're adapting over time to lower and lower blood sugars. So, but the whole point of this is really just to make sure that you're in a good range, like below 80. And yes, it's going to go up and down, but there is a phenomena of what's called the dawn phenomena, where you wake up in the morning, your blood sugars are higher. And so if that's happening and you're not eating any sugar, then it just tells you, you know what, I'm not out of the woods yet with insulin resistance. So because that sugar is not coming from your diet, it's coming from your liver making a lot of sugar. So this tool can be used to determine if you really have insulin resistance anymore. And so I would use it for that. And again, you're just getting feedback on your lifestyle and how stress affects your blood sugars. You can do experiments. You can say, well, let me see what happens when I eat this, to be educated on food in general. And then, some people say, oh yeah, well, don't eat tomatoes because it's going to spike your blood sugar. Well, go ahead and try it and see. You might find, no, it doesn't spike mine. And then also, like, if you can get data on pasta might not spike your blood sugar, but it will 2 or 3 hours later. So you see these delayed effects. So I think it's just a kind of a learning tool. It's going to make you more aware of what you're doing. And that's valuable feedback.
Thank you. All right, definitely. I could see stress as a part. I rode a horse for the first time in, 10 years yesterday, and I looked at my monitor. It was like, whoosh, this big spike, because I was a little anxiety driven to get out there, but I finally got back up there. So it's awesome.
Interesting. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is a really good way to see how your body reacts to a lack of sleep, stress, foods, exercise. I think it's a cool tool. So yeah, for sure.
That's great. Interesting call, Susan. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's go back to answering our questions. Number 2 today asked of the audience the following: why do nearly all environmental toxins mimic estrogen? And 85% of our respondents say it's because of the similarity on a molecular level. 10% say it's because the toxins bind more easily to estrogen receptors. 5% say it's because they destroy the body's endocrine defenses.
Okay, so you are correct. If we take a look at a cell with a receptor, here's a receptor right here, and then we got estrogen, right? It fits into the receptor like that. The estrogen receptors are very, very basic, simple, not complex compared to other hormone receptors. And it just so happens that a lot of environmental things can not even identify it perfectly, but get close to the shape of that receptor, fit in there, and they activate the genetics of that receptor. So now they're actually going to give the body messages of estrogen. So it's not they're not estrogen, but there's stuff that can press the button on the estrogen gene to tell it to do certain things. Because that's really what a hormone is. It's a chemical message that tells the body to do something. And this is why you're being bathed in chemicals, and we have a whole society that's being estrogenized. It's just like becoming more estrogen dominant. And these estrogen receptors are not just like in the uterus, they're also in the prostate, they're in the brain, they're in the fat cells, they're all over the place. So you can imagine the different effects that can happen. In wildlife, the estrogen, the chemicals that are in the water can literally change from male to female. It can affect the reproductive organs. And so that's a very interesting thing, especially as it relates to the next question we're going to get into, which I will tell you the other half of the story, which is going to be the antidote, which we'll get into. Do you want to bring up that question, Steve, next?
Sure, let's do it. Okay, and there you go, sir.
What would be the best antidote to this estrogen overload? Okay, because there is literally one basic thing other than avoiding these chemicals. And it's really hard to do that. There's an antidote. So what do you think that is?
Well, it's exciting there is one, and the audience, I'm sure, will let us know. JJ from Facebook, can H. pylori be treated with antibiotics, or are there any alternatives you'd recommend?
Sulforaphane in broccoli sprouts and also radish sprouts really are beneficial on this H. pylori. The other thing that I would recommend is acidifying the stomach, because apparently 80% of the population has H. pylori, but not everyone is affected by it because that microbe has not become in a bad relationship with you yet until maybe you stress it out. And so this is the problem with microbes. It's like the environment. So I would clean up the diet, get your stomach pH very acid, start eating like more sulforaphane, and that could hopefully put that microbe back into remission. I've done videos on this. The problem with someone taking an antibiotic, which I'm not telling you to not take, but now we're wiping out the good guys with the bad guys, and then what? Do you think anyone that tells you that, well, we got to get rid of them, kill it somehow, well, then ask them, well, what happens to the good guys? Well, if they tell you, well, they'll come back in the same quantity, in the same ratios as before, they're lying to you. It does not, you alter your microbiome, and unless you put it back, it doesn't always come back. And there's proof that it doesn't. And unfortunately, some people will give you the answer, it does, it doesn't.
All right. Regina from Facebook, does injected insulin affect the body differently than insulin the body makes? That's a good question.
Completely different chemistry, because they're using genetically modified estrogen. And also, your body makes adjustments a lot different than injecting a certain amount. I mean, that's why you have to keep injecting yourself. So, and then you got to regulate it and you got to test it. I mean, it's very different. So, do what you can to save your pancreas and to hopefully avoid that whole situation, because when your pancreas has enough strength and health, it can actually, it's quite a miraculous thing of how it can adjust and make just the right amount of insulin for you at the right time. But the problem is, if you abuse the body by eating too many refined carbs and sugars and seed oils, what happens is now you develop insulin resistance, and then you have this high level of insulin, and then your body will then get tired. The pancreas gets tired and says, okay, I can't produce insulin anymore. So now we lose our control over blood sugar, and then the blood sugar goes up, and now you have to take more medication, including sometimes even insulin. So, boy, this problem happens within 2 or 3 decades, silently, without you even having very many symptoms. So you might say, well, it doesn't bother me now. That's what I said. And then it catches up with you. So take care of your pancreas. Don't overdo carbs. Learn from the mistakes of others.
All right, very good. Let's go back to our friends on Rumble. Salil, if I said that right, 4897 from Rumble. What's the best way for a vegetarian to break a fast? There's a twist.
Well, just consume. It depends if it's a long fast or just an intermittent fasting. You don't have to break it if it's just like, even 24 hours. But when you start getting into 3 days or 5 days, you want to just eat a little bit of maybe a little tiny bit of salad, and then maybe have a little bit of nuts, a little bit an hour later, and then slowly, gradually bring in the foods over the next day or two. Because one thing you got to be careful about, if you're not doing keto, doing a fast, is consuming too many carbs and sugars coming off of a fast, because you're going to create a huge shift in your blood cells with potassium, and that can be dangerous. So don't make the mistake I made, where I did a 3-day fast and I just ate this big meal as well. I didn't have carbs, but I ate this big meal. Oh my gosh, I did not feel good for a whole day. But yeah, your digestive system goes into this sleep mode, and you want to wake it up very slowly.
All right. Good counsel. Quiz question number 3. Let's take a look at that, which has been answered by our astute audience. What would be the best antidote for estrogen overload? And 50% of respondents say it's the carnivore diet. Good for you. 30% say it's chlorophyll. 10% say it's iodine. And 10% say it's selenium or vitamin D3. Any winners, Doc?
If we're dealing with estrogen and we have chemicals that are mimicking or even giving you more estrogenic effects, there just so happens to be plant-based chemicals. Now, this is what I want to come back full circle when I talked about our bodies have evolved with plants, can deal with plant chemicals. There are plant chemicals that help regulate estrogen. They can help to turn the bad estrogen into something less bad. There are plant chemicals that stimulate the phase 1, phase 2 detoxification enzymes in the liver to help you dismantle these poisons. So, and those natural chemicals are in cruciferous vegetables. You could even get a concentrated natural amount of that in something called DIM, which is an estrogen balancer. And so what we're trying to deal with is something that is these estrogens that are foreign to our body. The name for that is xenoestrogens. So cruciferous and also the DIM product, as well as iodine too, helps regulate that excess, and it helps strengthen the body to get rid of these estrogens. I mean, this is the reason I'm bringing this up is because as time goes on, our environment becomes more toxic and we have more estrogen. So you better know about how to deal with that. You can't always avoid everything, but if you just on a regular basis, a couple times a week, you're having cruciferous, kale, arugula. I have a lot of arugula salads, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, a few times a week. You can have them fermented, steamed, but that I think it's a good idea.
All right, very good. Well, our next and final guest, Jamie's been nodding. I think she's really paying attention very well, and she's got one question for you from Oregon. Jamie, go ahead with your one question.
Hi, thank you. So I primarily eat a keto carnivore diet and incorporate OMAD and fasting, typically about 72 hours. But I like the water and electrolytes. And my question is regarding potassium and heart palpitations. I've seen your videos where you talk about low potassium causing heart palpitations, but I tend to get it when I have the electrolytes. What would be your thoughts on why that is? And is it too much potassium?
I think and this is my own opinion, there's two causes of palpitations or even arrhythmias. It's either going to be a deficiency of potassium or a deficiency of magnesium. And let's pretend that you have a deficiency, a major one of magnesium, and you're taking a lot of potassium, but not maybe enough magnesium, then it could throw things out of balance. So I would try to beef up your magnesium and then take a little bit with the electrolyte powder and see if that doesn't completely get rid of it. And if that doesn't, for some reason, just take less electrolytes and take a little bit more sea salt. Because one thing in the electrolyte powder, you have a lot of potassium, but you don't really have much sodium. So, and that's why it's good to balance someone. But if you're exercising, you're sweating, some people actually, especially if you're doing carnivore and fasting, you're going to need actually more sodium. And it's always a delicate balance. One thing with electrolyte powder that I recommend is it's really heavy in potassium, which is great, but you got to look at the whole picture, and you've got to be careful about that potassium and magnesium. You might need more of that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
We have some really disciplined today. They're sticking to the script and quick, interesting questions. Thank you all so much. And what does it mean, audience, when people are that disciplined? It means that we're going to go on an absolute social media marathon for the rest of the show. And so let's go there right now. White Cliffs from YouTube. I've been trying to reverse my arthritis by fasting 18 hours a day. How long will it be to see results? And what else could I try to do to deal with this terrible arthritis issue?
Well, I would go a little higher. I mean, if you want to do something else, do OMAD, 1 meal per day. So that way you're fasting for 23 hours. That would help you a lot. And then even go longer, maybe a couple times a month, because that's going to bring down inflammation. But the other thing you can do is you can increase your vitamin D levels to 30, 40,000 IUs every single day with magnesium and vitamin K2. I think that would be the best thing to reduce inflammation. And that parallels with you doing the healthy version of a low carb diet, hopefully, which means you're not doing the seed oils, you're doing maybe fish oils, that type of thing, and cod liver oil. All these things will reduce inflammation. Now, let's say it doesn't fully fix your arthritis, because even with me, I do all those things, but I have a lot of history of old injuries, in which case I have to do a lot of fascial stretching, lower back, psoas, the whole thing. And I do videos on that. And some people, because if I don't keep the stretching up, my body stiffens despite all these other things I'm doing. So it's just one of those things that if you have old injuries, then you might have to do a lot more stretching.
Wow. All right. Well, glad we're at that. Let's go to quiz question number 4, Doc.
How much space does a cow get in an indoor feedlot?
I'm not sure we want to know the answer to that. Let's go back to social media. Miriam from Facebook. What are the best food sources to meet our daily requirements? Well, speak of the devil, for potassium.
This one's hard to get. I mean, if we need 4,700 milligrams. So if you do the math, where are you getting that from? Maybe you get some in bone broth, but it's really hard. And maybe 1 cup of certain plants or lettuce might give you 300 or 400 milligrams. That's a handful. So you might need to do, a couple handfuls of that per day, but it's not easy. Avocados have more potassium. So I will say my salads have been reduced, but I don't do 10 cups anymore. I might do maybe 5 cup salad a day, but I'm getting a good amount of potassium from that, and I'll put some avocado on it. But this is one of the reasons why someone may need to add some electrolyte powder, because what is potassium needed for? It's needed for powering your nervous system and your muscles, and it's also involved in energy. So you may find your energy goes down if you don't have enough potassium, but just experiment to see if that's the case with you.
Okay, very good. Maypia from Facebook. I'm already on Healthy Keto, but my cholesterol and B12 levels are high. What should I do? Lower them? Eat less red meat?
No, I wouldn't worry about it. If your carbs are low, don't worry about your cholesterol. Don't worry about it. There's a million videos on this, and it is a complex topic, but your cholesterol is going to go up on a good amount of people if you're on low carb, because first of all, well, I'm not going to get into a topic, because then I have to do a whole video on that. But just I would look up some of the videos on cholesterol, and that way you could be rest assured that you're not in danger. The problem is if your cholesterol is going high and you're doing the carbs, that's where the problem comes in.
All right, let's go to Zara Mara Tara. Good for you. Great handle. From Rumble, I can control my bilirubin levels while, how can I control my bilirubin levels while dealing with Gilbert syndrome?
Yeah, I haven't I haven't studied that, so I don't know. Haven't looked at that condition to tell you. But all I could say is I would, when evaluating that, I would make sure that you're doing the standard thing that I tell everyone to do over and over and over again. Instead of treating a disease, I would go back to your foods, make sure your diet is really good, make sure your lifestyle is really good, because a lot of these diseases are connected in some way, shape, or form. So that's been completely ignored. We just go right for the disease, or the symptom and then look for the remedy. But you also have to include the diet, or else the remedy won't work.
All right. Well, here's the answer to maybe a sad question. And it asks, how much space does a cow get in an indoor feedlot? And the audience suggests it's anywhere from 10 feet to 0.
So on average, it's about between 20 and 24 square feet. So Steve, how big is that? Give me a comparable magnitude of 24, let's just say 24 square feet.
Oh my God. So that's like 8 feet by 3 feet, for instance.
It's 1/6 of a parking slot.
Ouch. So they can't turn
1/6.
around, I guess.
I don't know. They all have to turn around at the same time. Steve, this is like for 3 to 6 months. Okay. Now I'm going to talk a little more about this when we get to the next question. But when you're consuming conventional cows it's something we don't want to support. We want to support the cows that actually get a lot more space. I have cows, and they're our pets, and I'm telling you, it's just terrible to give them that much space so you can fatten them up. And the food, well, we're going to get into the food in a minute, but let me just hold off any more before we get to the next question, Steve.
All right. That's that's sad. Najay Wolf from YouTube, what's the best way to get rid of eye floaters?
You can do serapeptase, which is an enzyme taken on an empty stomach. And that seems to help some people. And then the other thing that you might want to do is prolonged fasting, because the autophagy effect will start eating up these damaged proteins and clearing up your eyes, in addition to going on low carb. Both of those actions, I think, would be the best thing to do.
Okay, very good. Let's go ahead and bring our last question up of the day. There you are, Doc.
Okay, true or false? Fewer than 1% of grass-fed cows are really fully grass-fed.
Oh my God, that suggests deceit. All right, audience, see what you have to say about that. And I think this is a record. We've got a full 12 minutes left of nothing but social media, including the answer to that question. So let's see, Lynn from YouTube, what are your thoughts about donating blood regularly as a way to improve or maintain our health?
Especially if you have iron overload and you're getting older. We have no mechanism to get rid of iron. And as we age, especially including women who have postmenopausal, who don't menstruate anymore, could be very susceptible to iron and iron overload. I'm sorry. And so if you are donating on a regular basis, will greatly help you. But it's interesting when you give blood, you have to realize that you actually can make new blood pretty darn fast. Your bone marrow just kicks in there and compensates. So it's just an amazing magical machine where your spleen is recycling and helping with the dismantling of old red blood cells. We have the production inside your bone marrow happening. And it's just like you take blood out, the body makes more. So I don't know if it's good or bad, but definitely it'll help you if you have too much iron.
All right, very good. Let's see. Carrie from Facebook, I've had my gallbladder ripped out. They said removed. What's the best supplements to take, if any?
What happens now is you don't have a storage sac to concentrate your bile. So now it's just trickling from this bile duct into your small intestine. And we don't know if it's too much or too little because we're not regulating it anymore. So you're going to have to determine if you need more or not by your bowels. If your stool floats, if you get constipation, if your stool is lighter in color, that usually means you're going to be low in bile, in which case you need to take a bile salt as a supplement after your meals. But if you have diarrhea, that means you have too much bile sometimes, in which case you're going to have to go to your doc and get some type of treatment for the excess amount of bile salts being produced, because that can create other issues with diarrhea, which could be dangerous. So it's a problem, because now you have to figure out how to regulate this bile, and you're never going to get back that perfect release. So you're going to have to just understand the mechanism, play around with it, because a lot of times the docs don't even suggest bile salts if you're deficient. And all of a sudden now you're driving at night and you can't really see in the dark when you're driving, and it's a vitamin A deficiency, or you don't have enough bile salts to help you absorb vitamin D anymore, or E. These are all problems. And unfortunately, the docs don't get the training on basic nutrients, which I wish they did, because that would avoid a lot of simple things you can solve with nutrition and vitamins.
All right, very good. Well, guess what? The audience really snapped back with this answer, which asked a true false, or fewer than 1% of grass-fed cows are really fully grass-fed, and 100% of our respondents say that's true.
It's true, Steve. Now check this out. You go to the store and it says grass-fed, right? And you're like, oh, good. And you pay your 70% more. First of all, that grass-fed that's a product of the U.S. could come from overseas, because all it takes is you packaging the meat and putting a label on it to now say it's a product of the U.S., even though it came from some other country. Secondly, all cows are grass-fed for a period of time, and over 90% of them, 99% of them, are then sent to the feedlot to fatten them up. And here's the problem, Steve. You needed to say 100% grass-fed, or grass-fed, grass-finished, or you're getting grain-fed. Now you might say, well, what's wrong with the grain-fed? And Steve, are we done with the questions now, or is there one more question? Because
we're all done.
Okay, then let me explain this really interesting point, because when they say grain-fed, right, you think, oh yeah, we're just going to take some grains and we're going to fatten them up. And first of all, you put them in a confined space because we don't want them to move. We want them to be sedentary, because we don't want to burn off those extra calories. They're fed grain that has been through to make ethanol. In other words, the waste of the ethanol. So you get that sludge, and it's all subsidized. So think about this, Steve. If you were to go out right now and buy a metric ton of that waste sludge grain that is GMO fed to the cows, it's only $150 for a ton. So you can imagine it takes 6 pounds of feed to put on 1 pound of weight. So, and then in a space that's like they can't even move around. But they also add in there an antibiotic to fatten them up more, also a medication that mimics adrenaline to last 20 days to increase the muscle. And here you think, and it says grass-fed on there sometimes, and you're thinking, wow, I'm getting something really healthy. Well, you really need to invest in a more high quality meat, and you have to look for the 100% grass-fed. And this way we support farmers that are doing it right, that really care about this. And it's a very small percentage, but you want to eat food that has a healthier environment. All this feedlot thing is very hidden. It's not transparent. People don't know about it. And so, it's all about, if you want to be healthy, you want to eat something healthy, but I don't want you to pay a lot more for something that you shouldn't have to pay for, because really, how much does it really cost to fatten that cattle up when they're paying $150 per square ton of this feed? It's like crazy. I'll have to do the numbers to really figure this out, but it's crazy. It's completely unnecessary.
Well, there's certainly a different way. I've had the honor of being over at your place, and there's billy goats jumping around joyously, and chickens chase you around like pets, and cows frolicking. So anyway, that's a sad end for those creatures, I'm sure. And I'm guilty, as everybody else, I suppose, and not paying enough attention to that. Marwa from Facebook, how can we shrink swollen lymph nodes?
Well, first of all, you might not want to shrink them because your immune system is working. So it's trying to get rid of something. It's an interesting little defense protective mechanism that you usually have in your armpits and different areas of the body and your throats to prevent microbes from going deeper inside the body. So you want them to react. But if it's chronically an issue, that could just tell us that your immune system is weak and it needs some help, in which case you need to take more zinc and vitamin D to help get those to resolve the pathogen that's going on.
All right, BRLP from Rumble. I have a brownish reddish mark on my calf near my shin bone. It's been there for years, and I have been using natural oils and DMSO on it, but now it looks worse. Are there any unconventional therapies out there that might aid BRLP?
You may want to try a vitamin C serum. That sometimes can help the melanin in the skin to help break down that pigmentation. There's other things you can use as well, but I would try the vitamin C serum for that.
Okay, let's see. Nazim from YouTube. I have stage 3 kidney disease. Will too much potassium in the blood impact kidney function if I don't have the RDA of 4,700 milligrams? And which food should I avoid with this condition or maybe add?
Here's the point. If you have kidney problems, you probably have a history of doing a lot of carbs. So I'm guessing you're low on carb right now, which is good. And I'm also hoping you're on intermittent fasting. That can greatly also reduce the inflammation and the stress on the kidney. That being said, the need for 4,700 milligrams as you do more fasting and less carbs goes down. So you might not need that much. And I don't know if it's okay you check with your doctor, because I can get in trouble if I tell you to taste something with a kidney problem. But typically what happens, potassium is protective on the kidney until you get into the later stages of kidney disease, like stage 4 or 5. So I think the best thing to do is check with your doc and just look at your values to see, do you really need to start avoiding potassium now? And then the other thing too is that there's a big difference between taking potassium versus getting potassium from foods naturally, which would be a lot less of a problem when you get it from foods. But again, check with your doc on that. Hopefully you have a doc that is willing to work with you.
All right, well, Danny has a typical heartbreaking problems from YouTube. Which food supplements would help eradicate acne?
I think the best 2 supplements would be zinc and vitamin D, but you better also get your insulin down by going on a low carb diet. I'm going to be releasing a video on acne coming up soon, and I did a deep dive in this, and it's like, wow, boy, if I would have had that information before high school, it would have really been a game changer, because it can really affect your self-esteem. But yeah, so I think those are the 2 things I would take: zinc, vitamin D, and cut your carbs way down.
All right, how about RXSTR13 from Rumble? What are your thoughts about allulose as a sugar substitute?
I like it. I think it's good. You should do it.
Boy, that's short and sweet. That's wonderful. So go ahead. Ursula from Facebook, can you offer any advice for the best supplement for someone with pulmonary fibrosis?
Yeah, it's a standard process product. You can probably find online. It's called Enflaplex. Don't ask me how to spell it. Standard process is for the lung. You take one. Actually, I would just take maybe 1-3 times a day. If I had lung problems, I would take that, and I think it would really help you.
All right. Well, that's terrific. Well, where has the time gone, Doc?
Well, we have 1 more minute, Steve.
Oh, let's see. Actually, we have 8 seconds. I've got a very accurate clock. It is now noon, but we can go over. You want to ask one more?
Go ahead, Steve. 1 more.
All right, very good. Lynn from YouTube,
Make it a
what are your
good one.
thoughts? Let's see, we already did that. Isark Hosh from Rumble, how can we help our brain energy improve memory while giving boost to our mitochondria?
Well, that's what you want to do is you want to boost the mitochondria in your brain. And the best way to do that is to run that mitochondria in your brain on ketones. How do we do that? We lower our carbs. We add also exercise into that mix to increase more oxygen. That will help. And of course, eat nutrient-dense foods. Believe it or not, ice therapy, like ice immersion therapy, is really good for the brain. Also supporting the gut with good microbiome will help your brain as well. And on that note, thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you next week.